Well, good evening. Hello.
Hello.
Let's see here. Initially, I just wanted to thank the Fergusons for having Coworks, for having us here. And this works better when you're not preaching to the choir. Let's see. But I did want to say thank you to Kevin Bruce of Musketeers.me, or ME, creating next generation websites with precision and care.
Sure, okay.
What a for.
I didn't write that, by the way.
That's your mission statement. You need to own that.
And to Kathy Bruce, let's see here. She is,
Awesome.
that's my word. But besides that, she's graphic designer, Association of Women's Health Obstetrics and Neonatal Nurses.
Wow, good job.
Good job.
You fit that all in there.
Tonight, let's see, niche.
Yes.
Okay, well, niche,
We're going.
niche, notch, knock, nick. Don't knock it if you haven't tried it. Take it up a notch, take it down a notch. In the nick of time, a niche is something you scratch. A niche is something you find or fill. And the gist of niche. Well, that's a cute thing, but in general, when you look at the definition for niche, you'll find it's a place within a wall. And when you're talking finding work, making money, you're looking for that place in the wall. And the wall is the marketplace. The wall can be the workforce. And so you want to find your niche. Let's see. I have a NOA using my NOR, my NOM, and my NOS. My NOP, which is very important to me, is based on my NOD, which determines my NOV. My NOV is the foundation from which I get my NOC, which is determined by NO and NOE. Part of my NOC will be based on my NOL when marketing, and if I remember these correctly. I have a niche of ability, using my niche, or my niche of resources, my niche of materials, and my niche of schedule. My niche of profitability, which is very important to me, is based on my niche of distribution, which determines my niche of viewability. My niche of viewability is the foundation from which I get my niche of consumers, which is determined by my niche of understanding and interest. Part of my niche of consumers will be based on my niche of language when marketing. If you go over these things, there's a plus and minus to making it work. You see, let's see here. My niche of profitability is based on my niche of distribution. If I can't get my product out, no one will buy. And even if I have great distribution, if I don't have a position for being viewed, or seen, they won't know to make the purchase. Let's see. Niche of understanding. People can see my product. And, okay, well, who are you and what do you do? Well, for those who don't know, my name is Ernie Moore Jr. And as far as being a graphic artist, that's what you say here. I won't call myself a graphic artist because you all have been in it too long and too hard, and it's not for me to hold a candle to anybody or shine your shoes, unless you ask me. But I looked up graphic arts, and it has to do with two-dimensional display and trying to reproduce. Kathy's been in printing. She knows about reproducing product. And the closest thing I've been so-called professionally would be something called Art-O-Matic. I paid to get in. It's a showing of artists, and what we have is, here's my niche. I used to take pictures. I now call them photographs, because that's more professional or something to that effect. I went to this building and I was told, you can have this spot, and it's in a narrow hallway. And I said, I'm thankful for anything. I'll take it. I'll work with it. And then, well, we have this one down actually in here in the garage. Garage. Well, let me see it. It's a larger space, and there's several spaces. But I was considering, okay, now what part of this, the benefit that you might get from this is my thought process. And that's what I want you to see, to say, oh my gosh, that's so off. No. So I was going to do that. So I said, if that's helpful, okay. But hearing my experiences, in case you didn't have my experiences, you're all the better for it. Let's see here. Sewing with thread. It was my...
You might explain how tall that is. It doesn't look as tall as it is there.
I'm not talking about that, so I'm not going to explain it right now.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
It was really tall.
The thought process was, whatever I show in this space will be influenced by whatever's showing here and here. So I don't want anything to both sides of me unless I know what it is. If I have more painters, if I'm a painter and I have more painters, if they're better than me, people are going to pass me by. If I have different artists, photographer, and I'm an artist, that might be good because people can't compare apples and oranges and say, well, this is different, and maybe pay me some attention. So in marketing, I needed to consider how people would consider my presentation. And I find that it's important to think how the viewer thinks. I also have this concept. Let me see. When this was built, it was built as work or niche relevant to work, industry, consumers, and design. So as far as work, this is where you stick a pin in it, or the flashback will happen, and we'll come back to it. So I wanted to address for the person who didn't show up, one of the people, he mentioned work being a thing. And so you're a website guy, and I wanted to do something for Glenn. I made websites when I was looking for work. And my whole point for making websites was I realized all the searching I had to do and the different places I wanted to go, there's remembering them, there's having my pieces of paper. And so what I did was I would use my nav bar. Now my preference right now is to, if I could, in designing websites, would be to have a top nav bar, and then if my page is long enough, bottom navigation, and side navigation. Here what we see is we have, these are actually different websites. And, well, that one's almost an intranet thing. But I list my websites. That way, any computer I use, I can go to the places I traditionally would go to. It was important to have information for me. And so I would find the sites that were sources of information. This one, squirrel. When I was younger, I wanted to, had a pain in my leg, and I was watching the Saturday Black Belt Theater. And the guys were running toward each other, they hit each other's feet, and they went out 30 feet in the air. And I thought, wow. What I got out of it was not that you could run 30 feet in the air, but that human excellence. And that was the spark for my concept of being interested in Kung Fu, which is a Chinese version of attacking, defending. But attacking, defending eventually got to be verbal, psychological. Fighting is not just related to fists and legs. I wanted to make my own Kung Fu. The model for Kung Fu's was, let's see here, was animals, a framework. So the wireframe for the Kung Fu was animals is one thing. Now here's drawing, since we're talking about graphic arts. American Institute for Graphic Arts. Here's my drawing thingy. The design, and AIGA is big on design, not necessarily selling graphic arts, but pitching design. The idea was, since my model was a squirrel, and my reason for squirrel, I didn't have a framework. I had comprehensions, I had books I had been working on, and they had thick legs, and I liked kicking. I knew a squirrel could jump backwards and turn 180 degrees, hit the ground running. So that for me, this pudgy boy, was abdominal. Yes, the squirrel will do for me. I went into the living room, and what do they do? I said, what do the tiger's claw, snakes strike, squirrels stand. So the whole framework and the whole base of my so-called Kung Fu, it's a Kung Fu attempt because just like I don't have professional standing here with you all, I don't have standing in Kung Fu because that's so steeped in tradition. And I don't have it when I'm just coming out. I saw this girl and I go into my living room and I start. That kind of won't cut it as far as, oh, he does Kung Fu, he's a Kung Fu person. No, I don't quite count. But I call it Kung Fu because that's how it's called. And I'll keep going. When you start to stick your foot in it, if you just stop and go on to something else, it's not quite as bad as keep trying to dig yourself out of where your foot is stuck. Now this design, because it was based on standing, I had to, okay, now, niche in martial arts. And I never called it martial arts. There was karate, it was called karate. It was Kung Fu, it was called Kung Fu. This stuff where you generalize and put a general category, oh well. And I'll relate this, I call it bridge. I'll bridge this to something I think you all can use. Well, I hope you can use. You know, I can tell you my thoughts, I can't tell you how to do anything. I look up how to spell words. I use define, and then, okay, search engine, define, and then word I'm not sure about. Or word I am sure about, but I don't want to risk it. And then it gives me a definition, and I, okay, and the spelling, I accept. What did I do that for? So, you go through it. I looked up proves, like multiple proofs, or somebody proves something, and it wouldn't give me the word. This is not a word. I know it's a word. I'm younger. I made an effort in my life to know things. I said, I was going to learn this, and this is going to be correct. I'm going to learn it correctly, and this is correct. I really like being correct. So when it says there's no proofs, I mean, it's hardly even archaic. But we have who's. So that was, okay, yeah, I am possibly right. There are words that are no longer in use because people are too dumb or they wouldn't bother learning it. The children don't, we coddle the children, or we coddle at least 2 generations. They didn't know it and we said, well, we understand what you mean. There's always the weighing of, do we want them to say it correctly or do we want to just understand what they're saying? And suppose this is a niche of some sort. But what we have now is what the standards were are no longer the standards. And because so many people have got it wrong, that becomes accepted. Wrong is now accepted. And it's terrible to present something to somebody and they say you're wrong, but I'm right. It's almost unsettling.
So what is proves?
Proves. Proves is the plural of proof.
Proof. Oh,
Give me proof
yes.
that you were here.
Yes.
Prove that he's innocent.
You could also say that he proves a certain fact, right?
Yes.
So how do you spell that?
But that's P-R-O-F-S.
P-R-O-O-V-E-S.
That's how I would have spelled it.
Proves. That is the spelling of the word. Proofs can be found.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, that's a plural of proof.
As in proofing the, as in proofing the blueprint.
Right,
Right.
or proofs that you got from a printer to make sure that.
Right, that's true, yes.
But it's not the same thing as proving, which probably is P-R-O-V-I-N-G.
Yeah, but it's derived from the same
Well,
words.
Is it noun and the other one's a
So
verb?
it's,
Exactly.
so it's proving P-R-O-V-I-N-G?
That's a verb. Yeah.
Something you're
What's a
doing.
gerund technically?
And I
Well,
was,
proving probably is there, but proofs is probably not.
I'm good at noticing breaks in patterns,
See, proof is there.
but
See?
wiki doesn't count. I cannot accept
Yes,
wiki.
but you can say you have to prove it. You don't say you have to prove it.
Well, I am looking third
See,
down on
this-
Urban Dictionary, and it says that the
Although-
correct spelling of an often
There's a-
misspelled
In
word.
publishing,
verb.
yes, you do have
Now
to
that's
prove
interesting.
See? P-R-O-F. Okay, now we have the end result. We don't want the end result, we want the transition. We want somebody to hear the one and then accept that its transition is this.
Proofs is P-R-O-V-E.
That's the end product.
No, V-E-S, there's no two, it's not two O's, it's only one.
Okay? Okay.
It seems.
Yeah.
Prose.
Prove.
Sounds like proof.
Demonstrate the truth of existence or something. So yes,
So it's not two O's, it's one, if you're doing that kind of proof.
Delete.
I'm confused.
Just understand, okay, and this is part of possibly what I'm saying. Oof.
Yeah, but that's something different, that's a
It
phrase
is,
term.
but I haven't finished talking after I
Oh,
stopped talking.
Yeah.
okay.
Proof.
Oh, proofs of bakery in Washington.
Yes,
Wasn't
yes.
there one with them in here? refrigerator.
There, was it called?
It was.
There was a bakery, yeah.
Okay, but approved is P-R-O-V-E-D.
It's also a rapper.
And a movie with Gwyneth
And a
Paltrow.
movie.
Go ahead, Ernie.
Sorry.
Continue
Well,
your.
if there's a discrepancy
You
about
brought Google up.
proof, it doesn't exist anymore that way. Proof proves, let me see.
P-R-O-V-E-S.
P-R-
You just need to know how to spell it.
P-L-U-R-A-L.
Well, that's gonna be proofs.
That's a different thing.
No, that's part of what I'm, whatever.
No, it's a different thing. It's a different word. A
How?
proof is something that you do when you're doing praying.
It's the root we're talking about.
But the word we're talking about, the original word,
Yes?
is P-R-O-V-E.
Let me see, prove, like,
Right.
show me?
Yes, like show me is P-R-O-V-E.
But you show me with proof.
Right.
That is true.
Right, that's the noun.
So I was asking to somebody that will accept the plural of the singular item proof is proves. And I found difficult.
No, it's proofs. P-R-O-F-S.
So you used to have a V in it. And this can go on and it's cyclical,
They're separate
so
things.
we break it up.
They're separate things.
We now
I think
say,
that why it's is that it is wrong, but that's how people saw it all the time and got used to it, so now it's.
So the
I heart-
English language is,
Oh, it's very fluid.
I heart radio.
Mm-hmm.
My goodness. The kids, I'm saying this to kids, because they learn it. They learn cussing from us, and they just cuss. They use explicatives. They're doing proper English grammar. It's just the ones that they choose are preferred. iHeartRadio, God, they see the shape and they say, it's a heart. No. Okay, my understanding was that symbol meant the word, stood for the word love. It was representative.
yeah.
Okay, so when you saw it, anybody in the know knows you say love.
Right.
You don't say that's a physical representation, heart. But now people say heart, I think. So what I'm showing is that what's important is that when you make your website, when you make your branding, when you make your logo, I would think that you can't necessarily use the standards. You know, if you're educated, this is how it is. If you're a reasonable person making a good salary, you're in this niche of society, this is how it is. Understand, if you want to appeal to, if it's going to bleed out, then you're going to lose people. Now I'm saying that, and I'm thinking language. When all you have is words, you also have the reading capacity of the person reading it. Design-wise, you can have the perfect, most wonderful, it needs to be in the Hall of Fame somewhere, how you designed that sentence or that phrase, grammatically, or for your point, or for your message. It's wonderful. But if I didn't see that movie, if I don't have that background to understand that reference, I don't get it. And if I'm a major part of people who are viewing your whatever, because of your distribution, I mean, if your distribution was better or more choice, you see, if you can distribute to 100,000 places, but they're all places that don't have the comprehension of the history of what you've written or the meaning of what you're saying, you get zero.
So if the message is not universal, you've lost the message.
If
It
the
doesn't have to be a message, it has to be targeted to who you're talking to.
not just the message, the viewability, how it will be understood, if the understandability of the message.
In the web, we call that the usability.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
Yes, no matter how great your website is, if the person doesn't know how to use a mouse, you're not going to get very far.
Right, but he's also talking about the meaning. Well, it could be meaning, it could also be deeper too. if it doesn't reach the person the way you wanted it to reach,
Yes?
it's lost.
Or broadly, if your website contains lots of allusions to Greek mythology and the average person now has no clue about Greek mythology, well,
Yeah,
I know exactly.
brilliance is lost.
Vulcan. Vulcan.
yeah.
There you go.
The irony of the name, which was brought up by some people,
What?
the irony, there's some sort of
Okay.
English word. The cuteness or the funniness
Mhm.
behind calling a winter storm Vulcan is
Ah,
lost.
yes.
See, she got it.
Yeah.
But the presentation, it's when you hit them, how you hit them, and their understandability, usability of the thing.
Mhm.
Vulcan, you know from Star Trek, Regina.
I also know.
You know
that
as a planet
I also, yeah,
in Star
it's
Trek
hot.
mythology.
What I
It's got to do, it's related, it's associated with hot.
Right.
We
with
need that.
with the volcano is where it comes
Right.
from.
Also, sometimes all you get in all your years of study, your background, and your niche and understanding, is somebody gets the association. I think when we say somebody is attractive, we say they're hot. Where did that come from? I do an Ernieism. I come up with how that might have, a reason how a thing might have come into being. And what I'm saying is, she's not wearing much clothing, so she must be hot. But she looks good. So we're gonna say she's hot. And we just transferred that. Okay.
That's interesting.
Vulcan. Now, Angie Blue Ridge. There was a concern. I said that I was a videographer. And what I do is I will take events. I will record events. Now, it's important, okay, the design of this, because layout is a graphic art. Edited. I, in essence in the world, am a nobody. If you pick people from the other side of the country, Ernie who? What? So, when I have any product, I now brand it, if you would. I use my name on everything. I sign things, I metadata. I use my initials as part of anything that goes out, any picture. Okay, so as far as the design of this, I have contact information with websites. Those websites don't really do anything for you, but if you like to get connected with things or find interesting things, it's good. I just thought it was important to have something of me there. Now I needed to identify what it was for somebody reading this. Now, I just brought up reading. There were some people that had signed up, then their concern was websites. Something that I had been concerned with earlier was the deaf seeing a clip I made. So when I do a piece, I will. Okay, I'm going to play this. And the timing, I read it myself. I used my own reading skills, understanding that I'm slow. And then I added 2 or 3 seconds. Hopefully some things will clear up and you will be able to get going on your website. As photography, get going on your website. Get to it.
Is it him making a website?
Yes, it's spider in the web, getting to it.
Oh, in the web. There we go.
There.
Yeah, I get it. I'm
So I'm not the
slow
only
too.
one that didn't get it.
I'm slow
I
too.
had to have it explained to me.
So there's that. Now the shaky bothers you, then perhaps minimize the window, yet continue to view
Yeah, except that like with the coloring of that, I couldn't read what it was.
And, okay, another niche for me is to blend in. I want, except for using transparency, which this software doesn't have for text, well, it does have a transparency reduction, it does. I want it noticeable, but not necessarily hindering. When I use photographs, this is showing there, the person who's doing the lecture did that part. He put that in, of course. The shaky is throughout, so you have been warned that it might be like this. Now, I'm going to leave him talk because he's the main thing. But I want to accentuate this. If somebody fast forwards through this, I want text there for them to say, oh, wait a minute, I'm interested in that. And they'll stop here. So I use markers. Oh, yeah. See here. There. This one just basically, I will add hints of text. Old school rules. Because he just said that it wasn't a big deal for him to learn. When new things come up, he can handle it because of the way he was trained. He had formal or classical training. How cool I am, I can pick that up.
And then after a while, I didn't want to learn it, and I still don't want to learn it, but I picked up the basics all the way. So
Learn the basics.
The last 15 years or so.
So I accentuate what the person is saying for in this particular style of let's see, doing a videography. I have
So video-wise, you kind of did the, excuse me, puberty's happening again. You kind of did call-outs. So little call-outs of text that kind of accentuate what's going on inside the actual video.
Yes.
Right.
Let's see here.
It's almost like doing a quote out,
Yes.
like you would do in a magazine. Or
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Now, when I was looking for work, I had the consideration of, I gave a blurb about me, something I thought that would be pertinent information, and my email. I have at least 4 emails, and this one would be my business email. And you see, I tried to brand me with the EM. I just happen to have the luck that I could parlay that into employ. I am employable, is what I want people to see when they try to write me.
Mm-hmm.
The GMX, I couldn't help. What I liked about the GMX was that it was short. So when I look for a carrier for my web, for my email, that is, usually I look for a name that is in line with what I'm hunting for. So if I did a construction thing, I'd want construct.com, and then I would use whatever here. Now this has, I was interested in security features, and that's why I don't mind using hyphens and underscores. But for people to remember this, that's too much. That's too complicated. But if they're going to just see it, for me, they're going to see it and they're going to copy it. Or they're going to go online and they're going to click on it. So that works from what I'm doing. work history I thought was important, and then I just have a list type of thing, something somebody could refer to. Now later, at this automatic thing, oh, also, I wanted this to be,
Is that this resolution of that, what you actually have on there?
no,
It
well,
looks kind of dark.
Yeah, not legible,
Much bigger and something.
like not usable dark.
this is a great point. Also, with regards, when, okay, there is a goings on, and it's a jury art show that's happening. And I have to pick 4 pictures, photographs, out of what I do. And what happened was, here's the book when you get to it. Can't show everybody all at once. But what happens is, the image, I'm just going to stand here.
Okay.
The image that I had on screen, when the printer I used, it printed lighter.
Oh.
So I'm finding, and this is great. And when I'm saying it's great, this is the one that was particularly lighter.
Right.
The image we saw, you might have seen it, I'll show you again. Oh, with the eye. Now, niche. In photographs, I realized that I needed to pick a subject that somebody would be interested in. Again, niche. What I did, I just had a personal interest of reflection. And I said, and then I went to, and niche is about going from one wall to a smaller place in your niche. So my goal now in photography, well, one project is to record reflections in the eye, my eye, till I get human models type of thing, and then I can work with them. But it's going to probably be small scale again. The spider was the only, in case, the spider, I finally got a decent camera type of thing, or one that I could get closer up on an object, and I had spiders available to me, so I did that.
They
However,
stand still, almost.
and you can get very close to a spider. Some spiders.
Yes. Until they jump on your face and you
Some of them
scream.
jump on you, yes.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's not gonna be my, so. choice.
Now, okay, as far as photography and understanding things,
But you like the
They are
macro
really cool.
photography, which is where you can get really close and see super small things and see them in a different way.
yes. But now what I'm hoping that's, now niche again, there are spiders, but I have to get sharpness of the image is one thing. And I have to tell the story type of things. I'm sorry, that's almost done to death, the phrasing. Okay, but,
That's what we all do.
so
Finding ways to tell the story is.
So when someone sees this, I want them to, I don't know, I want them to understand something. No, here's what I want. I would like to have an understanding. I would like to appreciate what I'm doing. And when I feel very good about it, then it's correct. When I have a poem and I cry when I read it, it's right. When I see an image and I'm taken aback, I finally got to go to Antietam. Now, what happened? I came to Cowork for a painting, something or other. They were giving a talk. And there was a tower, and I was on this thing about the niche of landmarks. Tower in Frederick, that's something that is payable. That's a money shot. I took a picture type of thing. And I made my adjustments for the photograph, digital photograph. I brought it here, we heard the talk, and I showed it to Mrs. Ferguson and a store owner. And I said, what do you not like about this? It's important to understand how to say the same thing in more than one way, because you can get through with different words with the same concept. And that's helpful because people have different understandings. People will take things differently, I find. So, what do you not like about this? I'm willing to accept that, and you're willing to tell me because of how I just phrased that. You don't mind. And I was told that the wire in front of for my positioning, I can't do better than that, but I could Photoshop it out.
Mm-hmm.
And later in all my notes, I spent a while making notes, and now I'm here with what I have, what I'm doing. But part of it was niche. Pick your techniques. As far as niche in industry, you all are doing different things. And how am I to speak to industry, to people in the industry? I'll say, pick techniques. If you use Photoshop, pick 3 things that you could do in Photoshop. When you use, in design, you do 3-page, you do a 3-fold layout. That's your thing. You know how to work a 3-fold layout type of thing. And just have your thing. When I found a magazine that does Kung Fu, and they had a forum. And on this forum, I found a place. I was interested in making this Kung Fu, and I said, does it exist? I said, well, let me see if anybody knows anything about this from years earlier. No, there is no squirrel Kung. No. And
Isn't there a cartoon?
No, it's a dog. It's a dog. It's a Hong Kong Fu. He's a janitor.
Yeah.
He does karate.
And let's see. And later in the postings, I pointed out you can't learn everything in what you're doing. You can't, per se, master everything. So again, niche. I'm not going to need to use every technique that exists. I'll need to use the ones that I will need when I need them. How do I know that? I don't know what I'll need to use. That's true, but you can figure out what situations you normally are in where you might have a frequency of need. And so I liked a multiple back fist. I like something I call Squirrel's Starburst. It's part of a series, and I do that because it's a repeating punch, if you would, in different directions. Understanding that I wasn't strong, and certainly that I understood I was going to get jumped. So I figured I'm more likely to get jumped than anything having somebody who says, I am honorable, and I would like to meet you on the field of the street of battle, and let us do this, and I won't hurt you too bad, we'll just see who's better. Right. That's not high on the likeliness. I'm more likely to get it. So,
If you're lucky.
if I'm lucky, I get that much. So I chose a technique where I am practicing addressing several people in the same framework. And the next one, the third one, I told him to do 3 because you don't want to do too much. I mean, even even trying to do a little, you could do too much. So 3, let's just work with 3. And the third technique, for me, was this arm massage thing. And it's actually kind of a deflection. If something comes, I can block it there, I can block it here, I can block it here. And it's also a conditioning thing, because it's very shallow callus, if you will. Now, the good thing about bringing it here for niche is that this can become this, evolving. I'm still massaging, I'm massaging the top part. And this is getting deeper into the technique, like the niche and the niche and the niche. And then this, I'm still in contact. Now I'll break the contact. I'm not touching anymore. There's no more conditioning. This is just technique. I'm still in deflection. It's just an evolution from where I started. And then I can broaden it, and then I fine tune and I refine. What you all do, whatever you're doing, theoretically, you can find a niche, something that you're already, either something you're already good at and improve, or something that you like. Because it has evolution to it, you don't have to be good at it right now. Just pick something that you think that's going to be marketable. I'm going to need that in the future. That'll be useful. And what I just did physically, I hope can be done in other ways. I don't have proof of it. Now,
Yeah, proof or proofs.
merely singular. Now this piece, I told you I finally went to Antietam, the bottom piece. Now when I'm driving and I'm designing the shot, I'm thinking what I'd like, what will be something or other, basically. And so I have components. What happened was when I looked at that shot from the screen, I almost flattened. I was breathless to speechless, almost, and I wanted to cry. Because another niche thing, actually, the camera is not pure camera. That's why I won't say I'm a photographer. Photographers have good equipment, and even if you don't have good equipment, you try for the crisp shot, and you take the shot of what's there. I don't always do that. I can't afford to do that because I'm not good at that. I can't do the settings. So when I'm not good at something, I'm finding my niche. I have to survive, and I need profit. So what do? I make do with what I have, and I go in the direction that I find the watering hole for my little group. Okay, so you can't take pictures, and you can't take pictures well, but you want to sell photography. What do you do when you can't take pictures well? Oh, come on. This is going to be one of my jury speakers that I'll submit. What do you do when you can't take pictures well, but you want to make photography? Okay, I found something. Let's see here. That's a different story. What I found was camera motion, basically. I found that I could shake the camera on a subject that was a fixed light source, and I could make pretty things happen. Now it's just a matter for me to understand the mechanics of what I'm doing to deliver that better. Now because the image that we see on the screen, this is printer, you all have heard of this perhaps.